In America today, we have more income. In America today,
that is an incredible thing to see, folks. That's a Bernie Sanders rally. Bear in mind, Bernie Sanders is a Zionist, and he's trying to have a speech, and the entire auditorium just arced up. Well, not auditorium, whatever you call that. Can't think of the word offhand. Just totally arced up and started chanting Free Palestine. Incredible to see. And there's all sorts of stuff going on in the United States and in other countries as well. They're trying to make it illegal to say anything bad about Israel. And they put all this stuff on the media to try to scare you into not speaking up. But there are millions of people around the world who are now getting it and are now seeing how it's all intertwined and all integrated. There's a lot of people think that I spend too much time on the Middle East, and it's not the Middle East that I'm talking about, folks. It's the Israeli control over all of our governments, and the fact that they're live streaming a genocide. And as I've said so many times in the past, if we don't deal with it, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. These so-called Jews who are in control of the state of Israel are one of the most evil satanic cults that we've ever seen anywhere on earth. And they're a satanic cult, folks. There's been reports coming out recently. A lot of actually Jewish women have been coming out saying how they were raped by their parents, used for child pornography, and that the whole incident was run by rabbis. This is what they do. You know, a lot of the stuff that goes on in Brooklyn, the Chabad Lubavitch that were caught in those tunnels under Brooklyn and all that sort of shit. And there were stained mattresses in there, and there were babies' high chairs and all sorts of stuff down there, folks. This is what they do. You know, child porn is manufactured in a very underground sort of a way, quite literally underground. And these are the people that are doing this, and they are the most evil people that we've ever seen. And it isn't that I'm focusing on the Middle East. Now, we've been trying to expose these people for eons. Find out who's really in control and who's doing this and who's doing that. And, you know, we've known that Jews are behind a lot of it. But trying to get that information out to people in a way that they can see it is very difficult. But thankfully now, in their hubris, the Israelis are live streaming a genocide. And it's horrendous, folks, what they're doing. There was a bombing the other day. They bombed spiderweb. They bomb civilian areas all the time. They bomb women and children all the time, folks. I mean, that's just about all there is left in Gaza. There's children. There's not a lot of adults left. That's how bad it's really getting. And they bombed a house the other day. It was a family just cooking dinner. And suddenly a bomb falls And it's a family of 7. 5 family members were wiped out. The father and 3 children were all wiped out. Or the father and 4 children were all wiped out. Only 2 survivors, a mother and a small boy. Boy of about 5 or 6 years old. When the bomb went off, he was literally thrown out of the building through the wall and landed on the roof of the building next door and was still alive.
هذا الطفل تطاير من البرج المستهدف كما تشاهدون. يصعب الأهالي على الوصول إليه. تطاير من منزل إلى آخر هنا في هذا الاستهداف على مدينة غزة كما تشاهدون. هناك أيضا طفلة أشلاء عبارة عن أشلاء نتيجة هذا الاستهداف لهذا البرج في مدينة غزة كما تشاهدون.
Unfortunately for him, his little sister, and unfortunately for everybody, his little sister, who was about 4 years old, I think the boy was 6, little sister was about 4. She got thrown further than him. She got thrown onto the building next door to that. And her little body was cut in half by the stand of the radio dish that they had there, the satellite dish that they've got there to pick up television. Literally cut in half, folks. Little boy's name is Ali Faraj. And, you know, imagine living through this sort of reality.
أنا نهى محمود شحته أم علي فرج. اللي صار أنا كنت في المطبخ، صار انفجار، بعمل معكرونة للأولاد وقهوة لأخويا، وأنا عمال بصب في القهوة صار انفجار قوي كتير. وأنا كنت واقفة وقعت، حسيت إشي ردم فوقي. قلت شهدت، أنا فكرت حالي بدي أموت. بعدين رفعت الردم، بعدين رحت أشوف، ما لقيتش حيطان، ما لقيتش عفش، ما لقيتش حدا. نادي عليهم ما حدش برد. الحمد لله نزلت على الدرج، شفت ابني عليه، قلت له اشاور له يما هيني وقال ما تخافش. كان في شباب طالعين على الدرج، قلت لهم ابني هي على السطح روحوا جيبوه عايش. وانا عشان ظهري حرق رحت جبت الاسعاف ورحت، وابني اخذوه الشباب.
علي الوحيد اللي نجا؟
هو الوحيد من تقريبا 22 واحد انا وياه طلعنا. كلنا معظمهم أطفال الموجودين، أخوي أولاده، أختي أولادها، وجوزي وأولادي، محمد ابن عم، كلهم راحوا.
I mean, that's just unthinkable, folks, to be doing that sort of thing and claiming that you're defending yourself and you're targeting Hamas. They're not. It's just it's a death cult, and they are carrying out a genocide in the most brutal ways imaginable because they enjoy it. And it didn't start on October the 7th, folks. They've been doing this for years. In 2014, in Operation Protective Edge, I think it was, they had little sightseeing tours there where they had people sitting there watching the bombs going off and cheering when it happened. But more and more people are speaking out, and that's a really good thing.
It's the worst thing I've seen in my lifetime. I've seen so many images of children that, you know, I've got no skin in this game. You know, I'm not Muslim. I'm you know, not Jewish. I'm not Israeli. I'm not Palestinian. So I see it, I think, purely from the outside, as from a neutral perspective. And I can't think of anything that I've seen worse in my lifetime. The constant images of children losing their lives day in, day out. Now, obviously, we all know what, you know, October 7th happened, and, you know, the Hamas thing. But the minute you raise your voice against what they're now doing there, you know, you get accused of being a supporter of Hamas, or, you know, all this kind of stuff. So there is, you know, there's a lot of heavy lobbying on people to be quiet. So I understand why most people refrain, but I'm getting on a bit now. I'm fairly secure, and I can't be silent about what's happening there. I think it's so utterly awful. And now they're talking about, you know, it already looks like it's happening, going into Rafah, where they've sent everybody down there. So, I don't think you can be, it's not anti-Semitic to say that what Israel is doing is wrong. And I just can't see how everybody doesn't see it that way now. For whatever the cause, whatever started it, and we all know that the history of this area of the world goes way before October the 7th. But it's truly dreadful what's happening, and I cry on a regular basis when I see certain images on social media.
Yeah, good to see that sort of stuff. It was good to see the Irish band Kneecap as well. What they did, they had that big banner up saying "Fuck Israel, Free Palestine." Got in so much trouble for it. They got their whole US tour cancelled for it. They got all their visas revoked, all that sort of stuff, but they don't care. They did it anyway. They put out a statement saying that, we did it because it's the right thing to do.
The real issue here is that somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people have been murdered. 20,000 of them are children. And, if somebody is offended by what were factual images, and, if somebody's hurt by the truth, that's something for them to be hurt by. But it's really important to speak truths, and thankfully the lads are not afraid to do that. Euromed have said yesterday, Israeli forces have deliberately targeted 37 aid distribution centres and 28 food banks as part of a systematic and deliberate policy to starve civilians. Now, how we're not leading with that as the topic of discussion rather than the opinions of individuals who felt hurt by factual information is just something that I can't understand.
Okay, and you will know, Daniel, that Israel will deny that they're deliberately starving individuals.
We consistently bring this back to the opinion of the Israeli government. Time and time again, the statements of the Israeli government have been proven to be lies. Most recently, the execution of 15 medical workers and the burying of them and their ambulances in a shallow grave. It was all lies. And once the information and the video came out, they changed the story. The murder of Shireen, the journalist, the Washington Post, a comprehensive investigation showed she was deliberately targeted by the IDF. At what point here do we stop amplifying messages that are consistently proven to be incomplete and inaccurate? When do we do that?
And it's really good seeing that sort of stuff happening, but also shows the double standard. You can't put "Fuck Israel, Free Palestine," because if you do, you're seen as a terrorist supporter. You can't put that up as a banner when you're doing a concert. But in Israel, there's Israeli bands that are doing concerts and they're streaming the live genocide behind them on a screen while the crowd is euphoric looking at it. Yeah, and this sort of stuff is allowed, but if you speak out against it, you're suddenly seen as pro-terrorist. It's incredible, folks. I mean, Israel is carrying out the worst acts of terrorism we've ever seen anywhere. Live streamed on X. And anybody who protests it is called a terrorist. I mean, how frickin' backwards is that? How backwards can things get? It's remarkable, folks. It's absolutely remarkable just how far they've taken things. Children blown across buildings and cut in half.
أيها العالم، هل تشعرون بنا؟ في كل لحظة من الحرب يعود الألم يحرقنا. عودة الحرب إلى غزة ليست مجرد عودة للعنف، بل عودة لآلام لا تحتمل ودموع لم تجف بعد. لن نطلب منكم الرحمة، بل نطلب منكم أن تصحوا ضمائركم.
Just incredible. There's one scene I saw in Jabalia, north of Gaza. Israeli soldiers are literally getting the shredded remains of burnt children and hanging them from trees. I mean, who does this sort of thing, folks? Who does this sort of thing? Who even thinks of doing something like that? It's just incredible, folks. Absolutely freaking incredible. Shredded children hanging from trees, tied there by IDF cowards. And they're all cowards, folks. They can't fight a real war against real people. They go in there and they look all professional in their military gear and do all this sort of stuff when they're terrorizing women and children. But they can't do it against normal soldiers. We've seen them trying to fight Hezbollah, running away crying. In other situations where, they face some sort of resistance from Hamas or someone in Palestine, and they run away and they trip over themselves, they get lost in the rooms. You know, they can't fight a normal war, folks. These are child killers. The only thing they know how to kill is women and children. And they've been doing it for years. And it's actually part of their training to go in and terrorize Palestinian families in the West Bank. Families that they know are innocent.
They just finished training. The first time they're deployed, you don't want the first arrest operation they carry out to be the real thing. So you send them on a mock arrest before. You choose the most peaceful, quiet Palestinian village in the area where you served, open an aerial photo of the village, choose a random house in the village, pick up the phone, call the Secret Service, make sure that the guy living in the house you've chosen randomly is innocent, and that by operating on him, you are not interfering in intelligence gathering operations that the Secret Service has in the area. Once you get the go, meaning he's innocent and you're not interfering in Secret Service business in the area, you come in the middle of the night, you surround the house, grab the guy, handcuffed, blindfolded, as if it's a real arrest, put him in a Jeep. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, someone goes on the radio, says, end of exercise, stop the Jeep, release the guy, go back to the base and go to sleep. So you're probably wondering, why the hell to do it? Actually, soldiers who get these orders usually also wonder why the hell we're doing it. We know the guy's innocent, so why we're doing it? And they ask their commanders, and you know what many soldiers heard back? Mainly two reasons. One is training. As close training can be to reality, better. So if you can do it on a real Palestinian village, on a real Palestinian house, on a real Palestinian man, better. But the second reason is even more interesting. Think of it. A mock arrest is just another advanced way of making your presence felt. You go in the middle of the night to the village, surround the house, some noise, some movement, lights, shouting, military movement in the village, people wake up, they know you're here. They see you arresting a person that they know is innocent. They're not stupid. Yeah, people in the village usually know. So they start to ask questions. Why the hell are you arresting him? He's innocent. But then they see that you released him. So what the hell is going on here? Arrest, released. Is he a collaborator? Yes, no. And they don't find the answers, so they're even more scared. When you know what's waiting behind a corner, you can calculate. When you have no idea what's waiting around the corner, that's when you're really terrified, right? Because when the goal is intimidation, the lack of logic is the perfect logic. Prevention is a reality of constant intimidation of everyone, everywhere, all the time. There is nothing a Palestinian can do in order not to be intimidated.
Yeah, how do you even comprehend that type of mentality, folks, and getting your troops to go and do that? It's just freaking unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. You know, they harvest organs from Palestinians, and it's just sick shit, folks. It's the sickest country. And now they're forcing them into starvation. Any aid that is trying to get in there, I mean, there are people still trying to send aid into Gaza, and the Israelis stop it at the border and they destroy it all. Just bags of flour, throw it out on the street, just make sure it doesn't get there. You know, people in Gaza can't even buy flour at the moment. They're living on pasta and macaroni and just stuff whatever's left. And again, most of this is children. You can see from most of the food collections, when people sort of go to these food distribution areas and try to get some aid, try to get some food, most of the people there are children.
الحمد لله الذي توحد بالملك والملكوت وتفرد بالعظمة والجبروت وهو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي الذي لا يتغير ولا يموت الحمد لله كثيرا.
Very, very telling, folks, to see these sorts of videos and see what these people are going through. And again, it's been going on for 80 years. It's just escalated at the moment because they really believe their new Messiah is going to come in 2027, and yeah, they've got to get everything in place by then. You know, and the reason I talk about this so much, folks, is because this is who is in control of all your governments. If you have a government and politicians in your government who are supporting this, what do you think they have in store for you? all the MAGA people can't get past their cult worship of Trump, why hasn't Trump released any of the Epstein lists, any of the client lists of Epstein? Why have there been no arrests of any of this? Well, it's because they're all involved, folks. Of course, you'd think, no, Trump would never have hung out with Epstein and little children and all that sort of stuff, would he? No, of course, he would never have done anything like that. You know, Trump supports Israel. I mean, you might think, okay, he's a psychopath because he supports Israel. Because let's face it, either you're a brain-dead fool with no concept of good or bad, no concept of right or wrong, no knowledge of history, completely misinformed moron, or you're a psychopath. That's about the only people who could possibly be supporting what Israel is doing. But there's another group, and that is those people who are compromised. People who have been caught molesting little children in Epstein's house in Manhattan and stuff like that. Of course, they would fit into the category of psychopath, I would say. But I think that's what they've got on Trump. They've caught him. They've caught him doing something. They've filmed him doing something. And that's what's going on with all the politicians in Western countries. They are all compromised. That's why Israel believes it can't lose, because it knows that none of the politicians around the world are going to stand up for Palestine or speak out against Israel, because if they do, they will get sex charges put against them. There'll be videos that are released and blah, blah, blah. And they'll never get a chance to actually make their side of the story known, because the media will just spin it however the Israelis want the media to spin it, because they control most of the media. Of course, there's little bits out there where there'll be little BBC statements or something against Israel, and they'll go, see, we don't control the media, people are speaking out against us. It's all part of the play, folks. It's all part of the plan. They've got to make you think that the media is unbiased when it actually isn't. Yeah, and all the stuff they're doing, the transhumanism, the digital control of everything, it's all leading towards the same thing, folks. It's all been done by the same people. And as I said, when you see what they're doing in Palestine, you realize this is what they have planned for your countries as well, because it's the same people, folks. The same people who are funding all this and allowing this to happen are controlling all Western countries. And that should be important to anybody. It should be a wake-up call for just about anybody, folks. It really should. Beautiful day here today, huh? That's something I've got to say about Australia, folks. It certainly is a beautiful place. Yeah, this is going on right in front of everybody's faces, and so many people just can't see it. It's incredible, you know, absolutely incredible. Withholding food, just bombing the shit out of everywhere. They're destroying Palestine. Like Rafah, they told people Rafah was a safe zone. Remember that? They're literally destroying Rafah now, brick by brick. I mean, this was once a city, and now it is just a wasteland. There isn't even the rubble anymore. They're pushing the rubble away, bulldozing it all away, probably bulldozing it into the ocean, making some sort of a pier. There'd be bodies all amongst it, you know. But this is what they're doing. I mean, Rafah is literally being destroyed brick by brick. It's been bombed to shit by US bombs, Trump's bombs. And now it's just being destroyed and dismantled and pushed away and forgotten. They're actually hiring civilian contractors to go into Gaza and just destroy and remove the remains of Rafah. Some of the stuff that they've done in the center of Gaza City, like Arimal, was a beautiful place, and Israel's just turned it into a wasteland and a tent city, and they're coming and bombing these tent cities. Bombing women and children. All they are doing is killing children, folks.
كل استهداف بكل طفل، كل خط بكل طفل يا راجل مصور الجوال كله اطفال، مش ولا زلمه كبير يا راجل، كله اهداف اطفال يا زلمه، نطلع الكاميرات على الصحافه نقول لكم خذونا على الفاضي، شو صار معك يا عمو؟
لقيت على تحت الردم قاعدة أطلع في حالي في عافية شايفة ايش قدامي
انت بخير يا ايه اشوف ايش سوسو اشوفها ما عليها سوسو لقيتيها ولا لقيتيها في الدار مبسوطة شاطرة هذه سوسو تبعتك كنت بدك تجيبيها انتي بتحس عليها ساعة بتدور عليها قطعت مين قطعها
They're destroying every single memory. Like I said before, it isn't just that they're killing people. They're destroying their lives, they're destroying their homes, they're destroying their memories, they're destroying everything it means to be them. Streets that people grew up on. They spent all the years of their life in these streets, around these gardens, around these places. This is all being erased, completely erased. All their memories, everything about who they are is being erased by this rogue fucking state. And it's being supported by Western politicians. You know, and people think Trump's okay. Oh, Trump's doing all this stuff to make America great again. What you got to understand is, yeah, he's making America great again, but he's not doing anything for the people, because America is a corporate entity. America is a corporation. He's making the corporation great. He's making the corporation more efficient. Collecting money, tightening up all the loose ends and getting all the money that they can, raking it in, and of course sending it off to Israel, because that's who runs the corporation. Recently you probably heard him say that he wants to abolish income tax, and everyone's going, wow, this is a great thing, he's going to abolish income tax. Well, of course he is, folks. I talked about this 2 or 3 years ago, probably even on his when he was last in office, probably 4 or 5 years ago. I said, yeah, he wants to abolish income tax because the whole world is going to be out of work. You're going to see mass unemployment because of AI. Even now, Elon Musk is saying that they want to remove 100 bureaus from the government. 100 government offices are going to be closed to make the government more efficient, to make America, the corporation, great again. So they're removing humans from the equation. It's all getting handed over to AI. So there's going to be mass unemployment. So people are going to be on a universal basic income. America is going to become a welfare state where people are just sitting around with virtual reality goggles on and just playing games and doing all this sort of crap while the world deteriorates around them. And so if they're going to be on a universal basic income, well, what's the point of income tax? You don't need income tax. You know, you'll be able to take everything away from people, close all the businesses, give them a pair of virtual reality goggles and tell them that life is good and that Trump is their friend, put them on a welfare situation, give them electric cars that are geo-fenced to protect them from going and spreading a virus anywhere. Now, you won't be able to drive outside your 15-minute zone. You can do all this shit to them. And because Trump has removed income taxes and actually giving them money, they'll think it's a good thing. They'll think he's great. He's doing everything he can to make things easier for me. Well, look, I don't even have to work anymore. Now I get paid, and all I got to do is do what I'm told and stay within the lines and not go outside my 15-minute zone and all this sort of stuff, and my life can be happy. It's just unreal, folks. And it's all tied together. You know, and what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Palestine has shown everybody up for what they are. It's exposed every fake Christian. It's exposed every fake Muslim. It's exposed every fake politician. It's exposed every fake truth teller in the alternate media. Because people who aren't covering this, I mean, they're complicit in genocide and they're trying to distract people. Come over here and look at all these warm fuzzy bunnies and all this sort of spiritually evolved stuff. And just ignore the genocide over there. Nothing to do with you, not part of your reality. And they're just allowing it to happen. And they are helping usher in this police state, this digital transhumanist nightmare that they're leading us into. It's all interrelated, folks. LGBTQ, all this stuff. I mean, they made the world so bad under the Biden administration that Trump can come along and fix all these obvious flaws that we know are absolutely ridiculous, like, you know, LGBTQ and all this sort of crap, and look like he's doing the right thing. Remove income tax, and people think it's going to be the right thing, but they don't look at it on a wider perspective and think, well, like I said, why are you going to need income tax when you're on a universal basic income to begin with? So I don't see how they're being played, folks. A lot of people just don't see how they're being played. And what's going on in Gaza isn't a war. It's a slaughter. It's an absolute slaughter. And it shows you what they're prepared to do. And that's what's going to come to all of our other countries. And they're doing what they can to just impoverish people and lead us there anyway. Another thing Trump is doing is he has decided he's going to collect on all defaulted student loans. I mean, there was some deal in the United States. I mean, you've got to get a loan to get an education and all that sort of crap. I mean, education should be free. If the government cared about you at all, education would be free. And it would actually be real education, not indoctrination like they give you, but it would all be free. But now he's going to collect on loans. I mean, there was something where, you know, you take out a student loan, you don't really have to pay it back until you start working and all that sort of stuff, I think. And a lot of people are in default of their loans. Biden was going to cancel all these loans, remember? And a lot of people are up in arms about that, saying, no, it's not fair, you can't cancel the loans. I mean, I had to pay mine off, so all these kids should have to pay them off as well. It's like saying, well, hang on, you know, they held me up to the wall and hammered nails into my head. And even though I didn't like it, well, everybody else should have to have nails hammered into their head as well. You know, it's just remarkable how people think. But yeah, Biden was going to cancel all these student loans, and Trump's decided they're going to collect on them. So they're going to start involuntary payments. They're going to start garnishing people's wages in order to have them pay off their student loans. So they're just going to keep impoverishing people. Like 5 million Americans are in danger of having their wages garnished because they haven't paid off their student loans yet. So that's kind of the way they're going. He's also, Doge and the president have given themselves the right to declare live people as being dead. Think of what that's going to do. I mean, try getting a passport, try leaving the country, try getting on public transport, try doing anything that you need identification for, and then try to convince them, well, actually, look, I'm not dead, I'm alive. I think they're doing this to try to deal with the migrant problem, which is all contrived as well. It's all been done this way so that Trump can come along and heal it, you know, create the chaos they need to create the outcome they want, order out of chaos. We've been talking about this for decades, folks, and that's what they're doing. You know, the Kalergi plan to flood the world with migrants and the Hegelian dialectic to fix everything. Problem, reaction, solution. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's how it works, folks. And that's what they're doing, and that's what Trump is. He's just chosen to do all this, folks.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, he really does think he's the chosen one. And it's his bombs. Gaza is being destroyed because of US funding. The world has been overrun with migrants and all this sort of shit, mainly through Jewish infiltration, which has all come from US funding. And the United States is virtually controlled by Israel now. It's got its full Jewish government in place.
It's an honor to be here with the first Jewish president of the United States. And if he isn't, he should be.
Yeah, they don't mind telling you, folks. They don't mind telling you. You know, they're setting up the scenario to create a believable beginning to World War III. Trump looks like he's out there trying to prevent World War III at the moment. He's not trying to prevent it. He's just trying to look like the good guy, so when it breaks out, you're not going to blame him. Yeah, and maybe they'll have to put their plans back a little bit yet. Maybe it'll take them another couple of years. Maybe it won't happen this year because there's been so much pushback about Gaza. I don't think they expected this amount of response. You know, Israel has really cast a stain on history, folks. I mean, a stain on history that will never ever be washed off. Israel can never ever regain the support and the respect that it once had. It can never claim to be victim anymore. It's still trying to do that. There was actually a report the other day that came out that said concentrating too much on Palestine and what Israel's doing in Palestine constitutes blood libel against the Jews. Blood libel. They put all these bullshit words in place and all these bullshit concepts. So you can't speak out about us. We're the innocent people. We're the victims here. When actually it's the most evil society, the most satanic evil society that has ever been anywhere on this earth. Because I don't think these people had a country before 1948. They didn't have the means of actually inflicting themselves upon the world the way they are now, because they didn't have a base to do it from. They were just kind of roaming nomads with no home. Kicked out of 109 countries 1,030 times over the last 2,000 years because everybody could see what they were doing.
We are a people that has been kicked out of every place we've ever lived for 2,000 years. Every single place.
Yeah, but now they've got control of a country and they've got control of the media. They just think they can get away with this shit. Look at this place, folks. It's really beautiful. It really is. But yeah, I mean, now they just think they can get away with this shit. And Trump's their puppet to do it.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
Trump is like the economic hitman for Israel. All these tariffs, all this stuff that they're doing. This is isolationism. I talked about this. I did a show actually called Isolationism a couple of months ago where I talked about all this sort of stuff. How one of Trump's main goals appears to be isolating the United States from the rest of the world and making sure all countries go into a state of isolation, become completely dependent upon themselves. See, that's why they made everybody dependent on everybody else. I mean, we had this mass situation of codependency that went on for years and years. All industry was moved offshore, all sorts of stuff like that. Not many countries can actually look after themselves now. I mean, China can, and there's a couple of others, but most of these countries are all dependent on each other for their basic needs. Steel, whatever, you know. A lot of industry isn't done. I mean, there's not a lot of countries that can just run the whole show from the ground up to themselves. There's been a massive effort to destroy the food chain in the United States, you know, burning factories and burning food processing plants and all this sort of stuff happened through COVID. Same here in Australia. It's been raining here. This is why I haven't done another video for you, because it's been raining and raining and raining and raining and raining. There's been like 6 or 7 fine days in the last 6 weeks since I've been here. And apparently the people tell me that this has been going on for about 8 months. And it's only really here in southeast Queensland, which is pretty much the main food bowl for Australia. So they're destroying all the crops. Food prices here are through the roof. They're destroying all the crops. They're setting everybody up for a fall. You know, all the migrants that they've been bringing into Australia, there's homeless people all over the place here on the Gold Coast. It's incredible. You can go to certain places. I mean, I've actually been going out at night and driving around and looking at sort of secluded little places. And I'm finding vans there and tents and little makeshift houses that have been set up made out of, you know, just cloth and tarpaulins and stuff. Incredible, the amount of homeless people here on the Gold Coast in Australia, which is unheard of before. This has all happened in the 3.5 years that I've been away. So they're setting everybody up for a fall, folks. And it's all moving in the same direction in every country on earth, but they've got to sort of manufacture this way of letting it happen and make it look like it's just this national thing and this natural sort of thing. And, you know, they're not responsible, but they are. They are completely responsible. They always have been. And this has been a long-going plan. This is stuff we've been warning you about for years and years. I was warning people about this sort of shit in school, you know, like 50 years ago. And there's been so many people in the alternate media warning you about this is where we were going. All the stuff at the beginning of COVID, folks, this is all the stuff that I said was going to happen, all this transhumanism. Because it all ties together. It all ties together, folks. In other news, I suppose you saw the Pope died the other day. Interesting, wasn't it? The Pope died on Easter Monday, about 7 hours after J.D. Vance went to visit him. I wonder what went on there. Maybe we should send J.D. Vance to go visit Bibi Netanyahu. Maybe that will see him fall off the planet as well. That would be good. But yeah, the Pope died. Going to be replaced by a new Pope, who is of course pro-Jewish, pro-Israel. Rabbi Shmuley's already picked him out. Rabbi Shmuley. It's incredible that they've got Rabbi Shmuley as one of their main spokespeople, probably the most famous rabbi in the United States. One of their spokespeople against anti-Semitism, when Rabbi Shmuley himself has to be one of the greatest causes of anti-Semitism. I mean, you take one look at this guy and you just want to rip his face off, and he just convinces you to hate Jews. He goes out there and tells you Jews are better than God.
I want you to know that I will die the way I was born, a believing Jew. That there is no power in the universe, including you, God, creator of heaven and earth, he who fills the infinite expanse of space. I, as a Jew, am stronger than you. My name is Israel, he who wrestles with God and is victorious. I will die with my faith intact. There is nothing you can do.
Yeah, as if that isn't enough to get people irate. But hey, the Christians don't care. You know, you can have a Jew go out there and say this sort of stuff, and the Christians will still support Israel because the evangelists tell them to, and the Schofield Bible tells them to. And they just go out there, they tell you that they hate Christians, they want to kill them all.
Command to wipe out from among all the descendants of Esav, descendants of Amalek, male and female, young and old. And that is why Amalek is so terrible, and it has to be totally uprooted. Therefore, God tells us we should erase their memory, and we should eradicate them from the face of the earth. Who is Amalek? Amalek comes from Esav. Esav was a brother to Jacob.
Esav, who in modern day terms is really basically, certainly one of them is America. Esav became Edom, which is a nation. Edom became Rome. Instead of it being Rome, it became Christianity. Christianity, of course, ultimately became Western civilization. So Esav today is really Western civilization.
But the new Rome, the United States, the new Rome.
Esav is Europe, the United States.
The throne of God is incomplete until we destroy Amalek.
Any nation that has that religion can be considered Esav.
The audacity, the chutzpah, to destroy Amalek and to cut off the offsprings of the nation of Amalek.
And with all the people saying that Israel is a peaceful state, well no, actually they say that it is their duty to wage war even if people are friendly to them.
Rabbi Eliezer Kashtiel explains the true reason for war and why waging war supersedes even the Holy Sabbath. Rabbi Kashtiel is the head of the High Yeshiva of Army Veterans in the settlement of Elite. His voice is by no means marginal. Besides being a religious authority, Rabbi Kashtiel belongs to the religious Zionist movement, a major power in Israel and especially in the military and political arena. כשאנחנו דנים על מלחמה בישראל, בארץ ישראל, אנחנו צריכים לשים לב שיש שני צדדים לסוגיה. יש צד אחד של פיקוח נפש, הצלת נפשות, אבל יש צד אחר לגמרי, שהוא לא קשור לפיקוח נפש בכלל. אנחנו לא בסכנה, ידנו תקיפה. חובת כיבוש עלינו. מצוות עשה מפורשת אם כן ברמב"ם, לא צריך להתפלפל, רמב"ם, לא, מפורש ברמב"ם, מצוות עשה, לכבוש את ארץ ישראל. חובה לכבוש.
וכיוון שחובה לכבוש, זה דוחה שבת. גם אם לא היו יורים עלינו כדור אחד. גם אם תושבי חבל עזה, שאינם בני ישראל, היו כל הזמן רק מגישים לנו פרחים, עם מכתבי אהבה עם ציורים של לבבות. היינו מחויבים בשבת לפתוח במלחמה, כדי לכבוש את ארץ ישראל. אם הם מוכנים לתת לנו את ארץ ישראל בחזרה, בבקשה. אם לא, צריך לכבוש. זאת ארצנו, ארצנו הקדושה. הקדוש ברוך הוא הבטיח לנו את הארץ הזאת, וציווה עלינו לרשת אותה. וירשתם אותה, וישבתם בה.
Yeah, this is the sort of parasites we're dealing with, folks. You know, the level of evil that we've seen over the last 18 months is just unprecedented.
الناس اللي يطلع على الأسرى وضعها صعب يتعذب كل يوم كثير وبتموت كل يوم كثير ولا نوم ولا نهار نتمنى انهم يعني يقفوا معنا ويشوفوا ايه الأسرى وضعها صعب جدا جدا جدا.
ايش هذا
وسهر ونوم فيش اكل فيش تطلب العلاج ما يعطوك شيء تطلب الكتف.
You haven't seen anything like this anywhere on earth. I mean, I'm sure this is what they did during Bolshevism. This is what they did during Holodomor. This is what they did during Rheinwiesenlager. But we didn't have the internet then. We didn't see it live streamed. And now we're seeing it live streamed. And nobody's talking about it. And if you do talk about it, you're accused of being a terrorist or a Hamas supporter. It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, Hamas was propped up and funded and held in place by Israel for so long. And even though I'm sure a lot of people within Hamas are legitimate resistance fighters, the head of Hamas is just doing what Israel wants them to do. Because without Hamas, none of this would have happened. Gaza would still be okay if it wasn't for Hamas. And even if Hamas went in there and kidnapped a few people, and the whole concept of these hang gliders, and this is just such bullshit, folks. There's no way that they could have done that. I mean, how did you even get the sailcloth for the hang gliders into Gaza? Because the whole place is under blockade. You can't get that sort of stuff in. You can't even get crayons and A4 paper in Gaza. You can't get nails. So how the hell did they get cloth and framing for hang gliders and all? None of it makes sense. But even if they did send some people in and do some stuff, it was Israel that caused the massive body count. We've seen this. You've seen the helicopter footage. You've seen the weaponry that was used to burn the houses, and tanks shelling houses in the kibbutz, the weaponry they used to burn the cars, all this sort of stuff. Hamas doesn't possess this type of weaponry. Israel does. And Israel went in there and made sure the body count was high. Even the guy who organised the Nova Festival, turns out he is some head of IDF security or something. He knew exactly what he was doing, folks. He knew to put the conference there, or the concert there. They actually moved it like 2 days before the concert and made it sure it was near the Gaza border, made sure it was right where they needed it to be for this to happen. This whole thing was set up by Israel, folks, and so many people know it.
Everyone knows that what happened on October 7th was an Israeli setup. Everyone knows it.
What? Look at him smile.
It was an Israeli setup.
Yeah, it's just blatantly obvious. And what's happening is we are moving into a world that will be totally ruled by evil unless we stand up and do something about it. And people say, well, what can we do? What can we do? We don't have the weapons, we don't have the strength. They've got military, they've got police. All you've got to do is stop buying into it. Non-compliance, like I've said. To me, the system doesn't exist. It's not real. The only parts of the system I use are a passport and a driver's license. I use a driver's license because I don't want to have to get pulled over by brain-dead idiots every 5 minutes and try to explain to them that I'm free and I have the right to travel on the common ways of the land. And I don't want to have to deal with bullshit. I want to be able to travel through borders with a minimum of fuss. As I've said, you've got to walk with 1 foot in the system and 1 foot out of the system. While the system's here, you've got to kind of use it to your advantage to make sure you've got freedom of movement and maintain freedom of speech, all that sort of stuff. As I've said many times, the governments are invalid anyway. You don't actually have to do anything they say because they need to prove themselves to us. It's got to that point. Governments need to prove their validity to the people they are inflicting themselves on because according to all of our countries, you can't support war crimes. According to law within all countries, you can't support war crimes, and yet these politicians are doing it. They can deny it all they want, but they're doing it. And, if you take it far enough and you stand in your flesh, don't become a little corporation. Don't say you are your name or any of that sort of stuff. Stand in your flesh and ask why these other people who are simply men and women of flesh and blood presume to have control over the vessel that God gave you for this experience, and how they are even a valid government anymore when they're supporting legitimate, proven war crimes. And in war crimes, a lot of the time, one of the most difficult things in charging anyone with war crimes is proving intent to genocide. That's one of the hardest things about genocide. I mean, we see genocide and they say, oh, well, it's just war, it's just collateral damage and casualties of war. It's always very difficult to prove intent to genocide, but not the case with Israel. They've said countless times that they want to exterminate everybody in Gaza. They want to wipe the whole thing off the face of the earth, and the whole place is going to be Jewish. This is intent to genocide. So there's no question about this. So if people stop complying with these parasites, stop buying into the system, that's what the matrix is. I've said so many times, the matrix is your belief that the system is real. Your belief that people who are criminals actually have authority over you. Where did you get such a ridiculous concept? Well, of course you got it from the education system, because it doesn't educate, it indoctrinates. Like I was saying before. It would be great to have a proper education system, wouldn't it, that actually taught people about reality and taught people things they actually needed to know. Wouldn't that be fantastic? But no, they just scare you. They scare you with everything. You've got to do what you're told. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. Climate change is coming to get you. Climate change. Unbelievable. Think how they've encouraged everyone to put solar panels on all their houses now, and now Bill Gates says he wants to block out the sun. You can't make this shit up. You put solar panels on your house, spend all this money, and then we'll block out the sun for you so your solar panels don't work. And there's acres of these solar panels. Wind farms and solar panels. They're destroying a whole swathes of the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. Beautiful, pristine rainforest. They're going in and cutting huge pathways through it in order to put up wind farms, which don't do anything to improve the electrical grid. They actually use electricity to run these things. They destroy the environment. And you can't add the electricity they produce to the grid anyway. I've done shows about this. There's been whistleblowers that have said that these things are a complete scam. Same as the solar panels. And there's acres and acres of these solar panels, folks. It's going to take one hailstorm to destroy them all, and then you're going to have that whole area polluted by the toxic shit that they put in the solar panels. They do all this stuff to pretend to be working for you and doing things for you, and all they're doing is making the environment worse, making the system collapse deliberately, and then they can look like they're the struggling politicians doing everything in their power to improve life for you, when they've created the whole situation. And what it's about, and what it's always been about, is depopulation. And this is going to continue until people wake up to themselves. And there's no war to be fought here. There's no battle to be fought. You've just got to stop complying with the system and call things out for what they are. Big action happening here in Australia, actually, from the whole COVID scam. There's been a leaked document, actually an email sent to someone or a phone call or something like that, which proved beyond any doubt and provided evidence to show you that all of the lockdowns here in Australia, and everywhere else of course, were not based on science, they were not based on medical advice, they were simply done because it was government overreach. It was done because politicians were exercising their right to terrorise and torment their people. Dan Andrews, like Melbourne, the most brutal lockdowns in the world that we saw. Dan Andrews is famous all around the world, and Melbourne is famous all around the world. Melbourne and Victoria for being one of the most brutal, if not the most brutal, lockdowns and tyranny that we saw. We saw police beating people up, pepper spraying people, young mothers and their children being arrested for sitting on the beach by armour-clad police, pregnant women being attacked by police officers because they put a post on Facebook. Just ridiculous stuff, folks, all in Victoria. And now it's been leaked that none of this was based on medical advice. None of this was based on any advice. It was simply all government overreach, all done by Dan Andrews himself, because he's a parasitic little prick who thinks he can inflict himself on other people. And life is turning into hell for Daniel Andrews, folks. There's actually lawsuits being put in place. I think Monica Schmidt has actually started a class action against Daniel Andrews. Good to see. I hope that comes to some sort of a head. And he can't do anything. He can't go out anywhere to a restaurant in Melbourne. No one will serve him. So he started leaving Melbourne and going out to country pubs, and they won't serve him either. And he ended up buying a block of land, I believe, up near the Dandenongs in Victoria, and wanted to get a house built, and someone came around, a builder came around, and as soon as they saw that it was actually Daniel Andrews who wanted the house, he said, "No, I'm not building your house for you." And he said he's going to alert every builder within 200 miles not to come and build a house for you. So he might have made millions of dollars from scamming people and being paid off to do all this shit, but he can't spend it anywhere. He's one of the most hated people in Australia, and probably the world, because Daniel Andrews is now world famous as being the most brutal tyrant of the entire COVID era. And that's good to see as well, folks. A lot of this sort of stuff happening, and a lot of pushback from people. So, you know, in a way they've kind of stepped on their toes, you know. I mean, they've gone out of their way to destroy everything, but they've kind of stepped on their own toes by doing it. They're still trying to push it though. I mean, they're really still trying to push it. See what's going on in India as well. India recently bombed a house in Kashmir. Like they're, you know, rattling sabers to Pakistan because of, you know, the West came along years ago and divided India up into India and Pakistan when it was all one country before that. You know, British kind of went in there and said, "Hey, you guys are Hindus, and you guys over here are Muslims, and you're all living together in harmony. But you've got different religions. I mean, don't you hate each other? We think you probably hate each other, so we're going to split India up into India and Pakistan. And we'll do what we did in Gaza, like with the Muslims, we'll make sure you've got East Pakistan and West Pakistan, so your families are all separated, the way they did with Gaza and West Bank in Israel, in Palestine. Same sort of thing, you know, create this division, create this animosity, make sure that it's really bad and that you're stressed out to begin with, and then we'll put you against each other so we can sell you both arms. This is how it all happened. It wasn't anything to do with the natural progression of India, folks. Put all these people against each other, the same as what they did in Yugoslavia with the Serbs and the Croats and all that sort of. I mean, all these people in the area in what was former Yugoslavia all speak the same language. They're all the same people, but they were taught by Western political factions that they should all hate each other and go to war with each other, so we can sell you weapons and you can depopulate each other for us. This is what they've done. But anyway, India went in and they were after some Pakistani leader who actually lives in Kashmir, so they bombed a house in Kashmir, bombed the whole freaking house, killed everybody in there, just blew it up. Yeah, just taking a leaf out of Israel's books. Yeah, Israel can do that to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Well, we can do it to our Pakistani enemies in Kashmir. It's the whole same thing, folks. It's the same playbook that they're using. And it's all about depopulation. It's all about ushering in World War III. It's about just divide and conquer. They've also cut off all the water to Pakistan as well. They shut down the dams in the Indus River to shut down the flow of water into Pakistan. Starving them out, using food and water and starvation as a weapon of war. Exactly what Israel is doing in Gaza. Incredible, folks. Absolutely incredible. Well, speaking of Gaza as well, folks, my friend Nidal has got a new fundraiser. He did get a lot of the money from the other fundraiser, but half of it got locked because of someone who made a major donation and they could never confirm it and blah, blah, blah. Plus, the money he was getting was in Canadian dollars. And you can't directly convert Canadian dollars into shekels. And because, of course, the people in Palestine are forced to use shekels as their currency, another insult to them. You've got to use Israeli currency. But you can't transfer directly from Canadian dollars into shekels, so you had to transfer from Canadian dollars into US dollars and then from US dollars into shekels. And so there were two money exchange fees to be paid. So he was losing a lot of money that way. So someone opened up a new fundraiser for him, which is actually in British pounds. And you can exchange British pounds directly for shekels. So there's only one exchange fee to pay. But there's a new fundraiser for my friend. It's only £6,000, folks. It's not a lot. You know, this is quite a small amount of money. And all they can really buy is pasta and macaroni. They can't get any flour because the Israelis are destroying all the food that's even, you know, anybody even attempting to get it in there, they're just stopping the trucks and destroying it all. And he's such a beautiful family, and he's a beautiful guy. And he's got a lovely family, and he's my friend. And if you can throw him some support, it'd be great. That's the thing for me, it's personal with what's going on in Gaza. Little girl Noor that I saw when I was there, I built a schoolroom for Noor and the Samuni family children because of the shit the Samuni family's been through. You can just go online, Google anywhere, and just search for Samuni family massacre. And you'll see what happened to these people in 2010. And you can also search Samuni family, the road to hell. And you can see what happened to them in 2023 when the Israelis came along and told them to go south to Rafah. What actually happened to them on that journey. Horrendous shit, folks. But it was this little girl, Noor. She was maybe 8, maybe 10. She kind of adopted me while I was in there, sort of adopted me as her father because she didn't have a father. She's one of Zanat's little girls. I met Zanat when I was in there. Zanat Samuni, lovely woman. Got absolutely put through hell. Again, go and read that article, the Savidi family massacre. Just do a Google search for it and you'll find it. Think what these people went through. But this little girl, Noor, I told her, I mean, when I left, when we went to see the children, I mean, I was there for like 10 days. I built a schoolroom for them because they're too traumatized to go to a normal school after what they went through. And as I was leaving, she came running up to me and she said, "Max, I can fit in your suitcase." And I just cried. And I just said, "I know you can, Noor, and I wish I could take you with me. But I can't, and one day I will come back for you." I tried to get back to Gaza so many times to see Noor and to see the Samuni family and just other people, friends in there, but I never could. I actually had an open ticket back to Cairo for like 3 years, 4 years, just waiting for an opportunity to get back in there. That never came. But I saw a photograph of Noor. Like, she was such a beautiful, happy, smiling, vibrant child when I saw her in 2012. I saw a photograph of her in 2014. And the pain on her face after the 2014 war, Operation Protective Edge, which isn't to protect anything, to protect Israel's right to destroy children is all it is. And then I saw a photograph of her again in 2023 after the horror trip they did to Rafah. Now, like, she was 8 or 10 when I knew her, so I guess she would be she'd be 19 or she would be 21. Somewhere between 19 and 21 years old now. And I see the pain on this young woman's face. But I recognise her as Noor, that's her. And, you know, I've sat down and eaten with these people. I built a schoolroom for her when she was a child. I've sat down and broken bread with these people. I've spent time with them. They're like an extended family to me. People say you're a Muslim sympathiser or whatever. No, I'm not. I'm just a humanitarian, folks. I don't like seeing children blown to pieces. I don't like seeing children have their lives exterminated. I don't like to see peaceful people obliterated by a rogue state in the most sadistic ways imaginable. I just don't like this, folks. I can't deal with it. So I have to speak out about it, because if I'm not speaking out about it, then I am complicit. Because they don't have a voice. We are their voice. That's why it's great that bands like Kneecap and all the people at the Bernie Sanders rally, there's so many people are speaking out about this, folks, and it's so good to see, because they know this is going to come home to them. If they don't speak out about it, it's going to come home to roost, folks. Their inaction is causing this to be brought about by their own inaction. I mean, that's what's causing it to be brought about in their own countries, you know? And there's nothing they won't do to bring this about. Sort of explosion in Iran the other day. Massive port explosion. The Iranians are saying, well, there was a accident happened, you know. Of course, they're not telling you what happened. It's probably Israel did this. So there was an accident happened, there was an explosion. If you look at the footage, you'll actually see there's 3 or 4 fronts for this fire. It wasn't one explosion, it's in 3 or 4 places, and it's kind of spreading. So that's very kind of telling, folks. It doesn't seem like it was just this natural thing and just this kind of one place that went off. Here's this dog again. Walter! Hey Walter! I'm good, brother. How are you? Is you going to come and say hello? Hey Walter! Remember this dog the other day, folks? He's here again. Hopefully he'll come over and say hello. When I posted that video online, everyone said it was the highlight of the video. Was he a highlight? He was. Everyone loved him. He's such an unusual dog. Yeah, he'd been bathed and groomed. Oh, looking out. Dressing up for the camera. Look at this dog, folks. Yeah. Beautiful. But yeah, maybe he'll come and say hello, folks. You never know. He came running up to me last time. He's been bathed and groomed since the last time I saw him. So yeah. But this is an incredible time to be alive, folks. It really is. With all this stuff happening, this is absolutely an incredible time to be alive. As I've said many times, the path to whatever the future is going to hold is going to bring a lot of trials and tribulations. People are saying we're heading for a golden age and all sorts of stuff. You know, possibly we are, if we do things right. If we come through this reset, you know, a spark of consciousness comes through it, well, maybe we can create some sort of a golden age after that. But I don't think we're going to see it before the reset. There's too many asleep people in the world. The government has gone too far. Israel's got too much control over everything, and they're going to destroy things because that's what they want to do. Order out of chaos, that's what they want. And they are destroying everything, folks, absolutely everything. And again, you know, when this whole police state comes online, how do you think you're going to be treated through this? And bear in mind that all of our police go and train with Israelis. And what do Israelis do when they want to investigate people and go and secure a neighbourhood? There's a video that came through the other day, leaked video, from an Israeli body cam, a soldier's body cam, shows them breaking into houses in West Bank and literally breaking in there in the middle of the night, terrorising the family, stripping them naked and abusing them, men, women and children.
يحاول جنود من بينهم جنود احتياط التدرب بصعوبة كما يبدو على اقتحام منزل من نافذة مطبخ بحي الشجاعية أيضا. يبدو المنزل أيضا حديث عهد بأصحابه التاركين خلفهم طعاما لم يكتمل إعداده. هكذا تتحول حياة الغزيين إلى ساحات اشتباك حينا وتدريب حينا آخر لجنود لا يظهر عليهم كمال الاستعداد ولا اللياقة القتالية، ما قد يفسر ارتفاع الخسائر البشرية في صفوف الاحتياط الإسرائيلي، ومن ثم إحجام كثيرين منهم عن العودة للقتال. مشاهد الدمار هذه في بيوت غزة تدفع للعودة لإحصاءات الدمار الرسمية، فبمقارنة إحصاءات مكتب الإعلام الحكومي بالقطاع دمر الاحتلال كليا 165,000 وحدة سكنية منذ بدء الحرب، منها 15,000 وحدة دمرت فقط بعد التقاط هذه الصور في يوم الماضي. جانب أشد إيلاما تكشفه الصور الملتقطة بعدسة الجنود الإسرائيلي. بلغة عربية مضطربة ينكل الجنود بأسرى فلسطينيين يبدون مدنيين، التعرية والسباب والترك تحت شمس الصيف، بعض مصير ينتظر من لم يرتكب ربما سوى محاولة العودة لحطام دار أو البحث عن كسرة خبز لصغار جوعى. ممارسات مضطردة لحق سكان قطاع غزة الذين بلغ عدد معتقليهم منذ بدء الحرب 6,633 أسيرا بحسب أحدث إحصاءات مكتب الإعلام الحكومي. استهداف مباشر لكرامة الإنسان واقتياد لمجهول قد يكون تحقيقا أو تعذيبا أو ربما اقتيادا كدرع بشري خلال
And then, apparently later they used these people as human shields when they went door to door on other houses. This is the sort of stuff they do, and this is what our police have been trained into. And bear in mind, our police are fucking stupid, folks. The 104 Club, if you get higher than 104 on the IQ test, you don't get accepted into the police force. So these guys are blockheads. And they've actually also removed psychological profiling from the police force in Australia because the induction rate was so low, no one wants to join the police force anymore because of all the stuff the police have done over the last 5 years. No one wants to be involved with that. Police are the most hated people in the country because they all supported this lockdown shit. They all brutalised people and they enjoyed doing it. Pepper spraying people, grabbing them by the throat, throwing them on the ground, just beating up civilians for no frickin' reason at all, except because the government told them to do it. And by doing this, you're protecting their health. Unfucking believable, folks. So no one wants to join the police force, so they removed psychological profiling. So now there's no psychological profiling. So now you've got fucking complete psychopaths and whack jobs joining the police. They wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere else because they're unstable. And you see the police induction rate has gone up 30% in Australia. Now that they've removed psychological profiling, what does that tell you, folks? Does that sound like a good future that they're creating? Yeah, and this is what they're doing. Unbelievable, folks, unbelievable. But yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say anyway. Try to keep these videos short, folks. And I'm sorry it's been so long since I did one, but again, it's just been rain, rain, rain. Just incredible amount of rain. Oh yeah, Virginia Giuffre died the other day as well. The Epstein whistleblower. Interestingly, she got hit by a bus a couple of weeks ago and went on Instagram or somewhere online and said, I've only got a few days to live. I need a organ transplant or something. I've had major damage done with this bus accident. She literally got hit by a bus in her car. And now, a couple of weeks later, she's dead and the claim is suicide. She committed suicide. Very, very strange. I mean, she did release something, or she posted on Twitter or something back in 2019 that she is not suicidal and she will never commit suicide in any way, shape or form. Admittedly, that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. People change. But did she really commit suicide? I mean, does this seem normal? You've got a question. I mean, perhaps she did suffer bad organ damage in the bus smash, and perhaps she just wasn't recovering, and perhaps her quality of life had degraded so much that she just decided it was time and took her own life. I mean, there is that possibility. But it's also interesting that other Epstein victims have been mysteriously dying all over the place anyway, and most of it is hushed up and not reported. There was another one of Epstein's victims the other day posted on Twitter, X, saying, look, I'm not suicidal, I'm not going to kill myself. Unfortunately, a lot of ladies in my position who were traumatized and who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein seem to be mysteriously dying, and that if something happens to me, well, I'm not suicidal. I want that put out there. I'm not intending on killing myself, and to just pay attention to what's going on.
My name is Julia Bryant, and I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago. I am not suicidal, and I never ever will be. I also do not do any drugs. I met Epstein when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. We all know about the Clinton body count. Another concerning fact is that one of the main women, a very brave angel, Carolyn, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead 6 months ago. It wasn't in the media until a few days ago. The only reason it was put in the media was because of a very, very brave Epstein victim. She doesn't want to be named. But there are other Epstein victims who've also died suspiciously. Carolyn was a beautiful, amazing, brave woman who planned a life on a chicken farm with her family. Instead, she was found dead in a hotel room. I want to speak out for safety and for other victims, because it's very frightening when the media won't cover any of the victims' stories. A lot of my story hasn't been told in the media, and it's the same with a lot of other victims. And we actually all feel quite frightened with everything that's been going on. And as we know, this is not the first suspicious death related to the evil Maxwell empire. They also used to run the media. So maybe that's why victim stories are not being told to the media, and the victims of Epstein feel very frightened. Please all pray for Carolyn's family. And thank you for listening.
So that's interesting as well. I mean, again, you've got to look at this objectively. Perhaps her quality of life had degraded so much since the bus collision that she decided to do it. But again, it seems very interesting that it would happen right now, and it seems very, very suspicious. So I'm not sort of going, yes she did or no she didn't. I'm just saying that the whole thing looks kind of sus. And it's been happening to other ladies as well, not just her. So that's something to think about. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say, I think, folks. I have managed to catch up with a few people with the Tesla machine, and that's been good. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get people coming from interstate, and like there's been so many people contact me about it, but I have managed to catch up with a few people, and that's been great. I've been trying to use it a little bit more regularly myself. Actually looking a little dapper today as well. I got a new shirt given to me the other day by a friend of mine, so I thought I would honour the gift and wear the shirt for a video. A little strange for me, it's got a collar. I don't really feel comfortable with collars, but hey, I feel a little bit like Jeff. He wears these sports shirts all the time. If I turn the collar up, maybe I'll look like his dad. But yeah, interesting. But Jeff's been putting out some great videos as well, folks. He has. Jeff gets a lot of flack that he really doesn't deserve. He's actually a really good guy. So you need to cut him a little bit of slack. I think a lot of it is just controlled opposition anyway, paid trolls to come in and do so. And by the way, folks, I'm perfectly well and perfectly alive. There's been more reports coming out that I'm dead, shot by police, beaten up by police. I mean, all sorts of weird stuff. Really badly photoshopped photographs of me in hospital beds and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous stuff, folks. I'm not dead. Nothing's going to happen to me. if anything does happen to me, I'd say the first person you'll hear reporting on it would be someone like Jeff Berwick, Dollar Vigilante, because my sisters are in contact with him as well. I'm sure they would share the message with him so he could share it. People say Max is dead and he's put in his will that you need to send all your donations to me. I mean, this is obviously contrived, folks, so don't buy into any of this shit. I'm not dead. And just look at where we're going and look at what the solution is. You might wonder how the situation in Gaza, which isn't talking about the Middle East, it's talking about the entire world because these people control the entire world. You might wonder how this is related, but you need to look a little deeper, step back and look at the bigger picture, and you'll see how it's all related. It's all heading towards this transhumanist reality that they want to usher in. And voting isn't going to stop it. You're just voting for one side of the coin. Remember, Trump got paid $230 million by Israeli lobbyists before he came to power. And they've already said that the new Messiah, the new Jewish Messiah is already born, and that Trump is the chosen one to usher in that new Messiah.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, so all this has been planned and you can see where it's going. There's no one you can vote in or vote out because both sides of the coin are bought and paid for. Doesn't matter who you vote for. Over the years, I mean, I've been able to see this coming since I was in high school. And every time you vote someone in, they say they're going to fix the problems of the previous administration. But all they do is introduce more laws which are designed to control you more. They never roll back any laws that the previous administration put in place. They just put in new laws designed to control you more. So you've got to see how all this is going and where it's all going. And you've got to see how it's all interrelated. The agenda never changes, so there's no one you can vote in or vote out. It's all about what you choose to do. Here he is. Hey, Walter. How you doing, mate? How you doing? You want to say hello to everybody? Hey, Walter. How you doing? Oh, he's off again. He's off. He's bounding away. He's such a friendly fella. Such a big dog. Look at the size of him next to this woman here. He's such a big dog. And he's very friendly. Aren't you, mate? Aren't you? You're friendly, aren't you, Walter? How you doing? How you doing? Hello. 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 Look at you. You're like a big puppy. You're like a puppy, aren't you? You're beautiful. Yeah, you are. You're a beautiful fella. Yes, you are. Oh, look at you, so clean and washed and brushed. Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. There you go. Off you go. Go talk to your folks. Yeah, I don't even know where I was going. But yeah, I think I was talking about transhumanism and where all this is going. I mean, you've got to look at all this and you've got to realise that the only thing that's going to stop this, there's no one you can vote in and out. The only thing that's going to stop this is the empowerment of the community. People remembering who and what they are. Remembering that they're human and they don't actually have to do what they're told by other humans. As I said many times, they base their whole legal system on the Bible. Okay, it's all canon law. Well, it says in the Bible that God created man and gave man dominion over the earth. That's us, that's you, that's me. That's also the people who are sitting in government. And if they're doing the wrong thing, well, there's no point voting someone else in. It's the system itself that is corrupt, and it's your belief that the system is real, which is the cause of the whole problem. People's belief in authority is what creates the matrix, folks. That is the matrix. Your belief in all this fictional bullshit that they write on paper actually has meaning and bearing over your life when it doesn't, unless you choose to allow it. And even if you're someone who respects the system, okay, you respect the system, you think we need some sort of rule of law? Well, the governments have abused that power. They've abused all that sort of shit. There is no rule of law. Exhibit A, government. They don't particularly abide by any laws. Hey, Walter, you're really friendly today, aren't you, hey? They don't abide by any laws, folks. So they show you that the whole system is fiction. It's nonsensical that we should even be considering going along with this shit. That's all I've ever done through these shows, is try to empower people, try to encourage people to remember who and what they are. That's the key to the whole thing. Why I've been focused on Gaza so much and what's going on over there is because this is a live stream genocide, and the way of Palestine will be the way of the world if people do not stand up against this. And many, many people are, folks. I mean, I personally have reached millions of people over the 17, 18 years that I've been doing this, doing these videos and stuff. I've reached millions and millions of people, folks. I know from the amount of emails that I get and the amount of encouragement that I get from people. And you can do that as well. Everybody can do that. Even if you're doing something completely different, even if you're doing health podcasts or cooking shows or whatever you're doing, you can still just have a little quip. You can still just give it a mention, you know, because you'd be surprised what sort of seeds you can plant in people's minds if you just sort of give it a mention and let people know what's going on and what side of history you are on. That will encourage them to step onto the right side of history themselves. And that's what's going to change things, folks. So that's why I continue on with this. I mean, how can I not? You know, if you were my friend in some other country and you were being bombed and genocided in the most obscene, hideous, psychopathic ways that we're seeing in Gaza, and people say, well, why aren't you talking about other genocides like what's going on in Rwanda and what's going on in Sudan? And well, they're not a walled-in population, 75% of whom are under the age of 17. It's a world of children, and they've got a wall around them so they can't leave. At least the people in Sudan can flee across the border or get on a boat and become a refugee, go to another country or whatever. People in Gaza can't do any of that. People in West Bank can't do any of that. Why don't the Arab leaders stand up and do something about it? Because most of them are probably compromised as well, folks. You've heard about some of the OnlyFans stuff that goes on. Some of these women that get paid $50,000 to go over to Dubai and places like that, and they get sexually abused in the most disgusting ways. And the Arabs just laugh about it. They like to get pretty blonde women over there and just do hideous things to them. And then give them $50,000 and say, see ya, you know, go home now. And people think they're going over there just to, you know, have sex with the prince or something. And it ends up in the most hideous situations. So, you know, you think if that comes out, what these people in Dubai and these rich Arabs and stuff have been doing, you think that people are going to appreciate that? So, you know, everybody's compromised. All these people are compromised. The only people who can change this is us. And if we remember who and what we are and step into our own strength, our own divinity and our own integrity, then we got this. The question is, who's prepared to do it? And that's why I do what I do, folks. But I've got to show you this evil shit. I've got to show you all this bad stuff that stresses you out, because that's our reality. Whether you choose to deny it or not, that's our reality. People say, you know, you're empowering the darkness by giving attention to it. No, you're empowering the darkness by failing to give attention to it, because as soon as you cast light on the shadow, the darkness flees. And it's people's refusal to cast light on this sort of stuff which is allowing it to continue. So it's important to look at things in the right way, folks. I mean, I find all this information empowering because I'm able to process different forms of light, because all information is light. That's all it is. Just people have a difficulty processing certain forms of light, and so they cannot look at information they deem to be negative or dark because of the way it makes them feel. They think that they're sitting there in a state of high vibration by not looking at the darkness. No, you're actually sitting there in a state of low vibration because you are in fear of how you will feel if you face the shadow in the world. People haven't done the shadow work. They think it's all love and light, when it absolutely isn't, folks. There's a lot of darkness, and the darkness is growing because people have refused to face it for so many years. But I think it's sort of, the light is breaking through now. The amount of people outraged about this genocide is really, it's growing exponentially. Like I said, Israel will never recover. This is a stain on history. And you can blame Israel all you like for this stain, which is true. They have a good deal of responsibility for it. But also it's the people who have stood by and said nothing and allowed it to happen so they can remain comfortable in their own little environment. That's who's really to blame, folks. They do this under the belief that if they stay quiet, then they'll be okay and it won't happen to them. When you look at everything that's happened, all the dominoes that have been put in place through COVID and all this sort of stuff, well, yeah, it can happen to them. Speaking of COVID, Klaus Schwab stepped down from the WEF as well. You probably heard that. And who is he replaced by? I can't remember the guy's name, but it's the head of Nestle. The guy who said that access to water is not a human right. Water is a rare commodity. Nestle actually owns most of the water on Earth. Water is a basic need for human life, and it comes from the sky, and these guys are claiming ownership of it. And this guy's been put in charge of the WEF. You've got people like Alex Jones saying, see, we're winning, Trump's winning, Klaus Schwab has stepped down, this is huge. Well, someone worse has been put in his place, Alex. Why aren't you addressing that? Why aren't you addressing what's going on in Israel? Why aren't you addressing what's going on in Gaza? Why aren't you addressing that these are all Trump's bombs? And why aren't you addressing the fact that Trump has not released any of the Epstein files, because there's a very good likelihood that Trump is actually involved in what happened in Epstein Island, or perhaps not in Epstein Island, perhaps he just used to visit the place in Manhattan. He certainly hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. But Trump isn't your friend. Trump is bought and paid for. Trump is making America, the corporation, great, not the American people. He's actually doing it at the expense of the American people, and they're all cheering him along. And like I said, they're going to cheer him on even more once they get the basic universal income and no income tax, and they think, wow, Trump has not only dropped income tax, he's now giving us money. See, he really cares. No, folks, this is like socialism, even worse than socialism, sort of almost communism, and Trump is not your friend. Trump's whole purpose is to make the corporation more powerful. But anyway, I'll keep going on, so yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you to all the people who send me so many kind emails. Thank you to anybody who makes a contribution to the website. You people have been so great, like so great over the years. And like through you, helping me keep this message going. Like I said before, we've reached millions upon millions of people, folks. A lot of people are getting it now. And that's a very good thing. So thank you for that. Thank you to all the people on the front line lifting up their voices and being heard. We really need people to do this. And yeah, I'll bring you another video as soon as I can. Hopefully it won't be raining again for another frickin' 2 weeks. Hopefully this sun will remain. It's really good to see some sunshine, folks. And hopefully this will remain, and I'll see you before 2 weeks. I'll bring another video soon. Please stay safe, stay strong. For all those people who BitChute has been knocked out in the UK as well, we know this. Go to Odyssey, go to Rumble, and you can watch the shows there, or just get a VPN and say that you're in Mexico or whatever. Switch it to Mexico and then you can watch it. It's all good. And you don't have to worry about the laws they put in place in the UK. And just push back, folks. Push back in any way you can. Push back by being the best version of yourself you can possibly be. That is the best pushback you can do. And that's really what all this is about. It's about pushing you to let that beauty come out. That's why this genocide has been so brutal, because they really want to push you into action. But anyway, folks, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. It's been a pleasure having your company. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh.